Hello, I'm Marina Colon, and I will be presenting on my Capstone project proposal. English language learners have many barriers in schools in the United States. When they're learning a new language and assimilating to their new surroundings, and these barriers can help or hinder their success in their new setting. One major barrier that ELs have are that the language differences between their native and second language impacts the development of literacy skills in their new second language. Much research has focused on the clear link between English language learners and low reading skills. ELs, especially those from low socioeconomic homes, have demonstrated to have lower literacy skills like phonological awareness, which puts them at a great risk for reading difficulty and academic difficulty in turn. In schools, ELs range from excelling academically to needing a great deal of support. The academic experience for ELs ranges greatly. Although there is a link between ELs and lower reading skills, this diverse population falls into different points on the spectrum, which can result from the time in their lives they were exposed to the second language. Literacy skills develop more quickly and successfully in their primary language. While there are similarities between different languages in how reading skills develop, there are also marked differences. These language differences impact the development of literacy skills in the second language, in that there is a link between English language learners and low literacy skills like phonological awareness, which is the building blocks of reading, putting ELs at risk for lower literacy skills. Phonological awareness skills need to be targeted at an early age, as well as speech perception skills, especially for children who are at risk for delayed language skills, which are ELs from low SES households. Children who are English language learners enter schools in the United States and are doubly challenged. They need to learn to read in a language that is unfamiliar to them or that they are not proficient in. This puts them at a higher risk for early reading difficulties. In addition to ELs being at risk for reading difficulty, children who are from low socioeconomic status households are at more of a risk for early difficulties. Because ELs disproportionately are living in low SES homes, there is a great need and importance to investigate ways to overcome these at-risk groups. This study will consist of looking at speech perception and phonemic awareness as a means to target the reading skills of this at-risk population. I delve further into focusing on the perception and discrimination of vowel sounds that are non-native to a Spanish speaker. In monolinguals and bilinguals, native language discrimination is accomplished typically when a child reaches 4 or 5 months of age. However, there are conflicting findings in terms of the bilingual acquisition patterns, which may be due to the differences in phonotactic and prosodic patterns between the two languages the child is exposed to in their daily life. So in a study by Vidal in 2016, the author hypothesized that bilingual children would show weaker English vowel processing when this population was compared to monolingual children. Young bilingual participants were expected to have more positive mismatch negativity response, so that's MMR, mismatch negativity response, than monolingual children. And this hypothesis was found to be true. There were a total of 20 monolingual and 18 bilingual children, 4 and 5 years of age. And the results found that the MMR, the mismatch negativity response, is stronger in monolinguals, which suggests that monolinguals demonstrate more mature responses. The MMR showed more of an immature pattern for the bilinguals. More specifically, positive MMRs were found for the majority of the bilingual children across the 160 to 300 millisecond time span. Phonemic awareness, on the other hand, focuses on being able to hear, identify, and manipulate the speech sound, which can go hand in hand with speech perception. This is the case for many children, especially those from low socioeconomic status households. Again, low SES households. Phonemic awareness does not tend to develop naturally as children grow up. Children need to be taught these skills. Levy and Cruz, in a study in 2004, state that a difficulty that ELs may have in the acquisition of L2 may come from the differences between the identity of vowels in when comparing L1 to L2. Other factors could be linguistic and non-linguistic, which may affect an L's discrimination ability. The authors identified 2 linguistic factors that may have an effect on a bilingual Spanish-English individual's ability to discriminate vowels, English vowels. One linguistic factor is that there are English vowels that are not, they're just simply not present in the Spanish language. The second factor is that both native and non-native English individuals face difficulties discriminating among specific English vowels. 2 non-linguistic factors that may affect another linguistic factor that may affect an L's ability to discriminate vowel sounds between their 2 languages is how much experience they have and exposure they have with language 2, so English in this case. Another non-linguistic factor is the age that they began being exposed to English, the L2. So the tentative title that I have for this study so far is The Effect of Non-Native Vowel-Targeted Intervention on Speech Sound Perception of English Vowels in English Language Learners. The purpose of this study is to examine the effect of an intervention focusing on non-native English sounds on kindergarten-age children who are Ls of low socioeconomic households. My research question is the effectiveness of non-native vowel multimodal instruction on speech perception for kindergarten-age children who are English language learners of low socioeconomic status as part of a response to intervention model. And my hypothesis or claim for this study is that Ls from low SES households, a population greatly at risk for developing language delays, will perceive non-native vowels when given a multimodal intervention focused solely on non-native English vowel sounds. The research design that I'm intending to use is an ABA research design. The ABA design is a type of experimental design in which the participants are first introduced to a baseline condition, which is A. In the baseline condition, no treatment or experimental variable will be introduced to my participants at all. Next, the participants receive the experimental condition or the treatment, which is B, and then after that, they will return to the baseline condition, which is A. The ABA design will allow me to observe behavior before the treatment, during the treatment, and after the treatment. The purpose of using this design is so I can observe the changes each child may exhibit as a result of the treatment that I'm giving them. By establishing the baseline, I am also able to observe how the participant performs with no treatment. After the treatment is applied, the participants are then retested. Finally, the participants once again return to the baseline condition. As a result, I will be able to see what effect, if any, the treatment had on my participants. So, as far as my participants, the inclusion criteria, I will be using probably 3 to 5 kindergarten age children, so they'll be between 5 and 6 years old, and they will be bilingual Spanish-English, and they will come from low SES households, and they after screening, I will choose students who are unable to perceive the vowel sounds I and The exclusion criteria for these participants are any students who have any hearing loss, or students who have already been identified for special education services, any special education services, and also students who have poor attendance. The methods I will use to determine the low SES household, the children who come from low SES households, are if they are recipients of free school lunch programs. That typically means that they're from low SES households. So that's tentative for now. That is a way that I will identify that. And also the language input. So I will be sending home some sort of questionnaire. As of now, I have a language background questionnaire that will go home with the children to determine how much English is spoken in home, how much Spanish, what language they're exposed to most while watching TV, while walking around their neighborhood, or what language their brothers and sisters speak, and their parents as well, obviously. The location that I will be doing this intervention would be in the student's elementary school setting. So this is also the school that I work in as well. But I will not be treating any children who I see as mandated speech. And it will be in a speech room, which will be totally quiet. It will only be myself and the participants. So it'll be quiet and minimal distractions. Methods. So the first thing I will be doing is giving screeners for inclusion and exclusion to find participants who cannot perceive these English vowel sounds, and I'm thinking, and in between different types of screeners, there's so many screeners for this, but I'm looking at the phonological awareness skills test, the PAST, and also the phonological awareness screener for intervention, the PASI. And I will be doing this individually, so I will be alone with each child and giving the screeners. For the baseline, I will probe discrimination for these target vowels over 5 sessions, and I will use the same test as the screener. And again, this will be individually done over 5 sessions. The intervention sessions will range somewhere between 15 to 30 minutes. And again, the intervention will be multimodal in that it will focus on both speech perception and phonemic awareness. And data will be taken at the end of each session. And I will be using aerobics for the intervention. So each child will have their own laptop, and I'll have aerobics step 1, and I will tailor it to focus on the vowel sounds that we're working on. I have chosen aerobics to use for my intervention because it focuses on speech perception and phonemic awareness. It's appropriate for my participants' age range. Aerobics has been seen as an excellent tool for teaching the phonological awareness and auditory processing skills that learning experts recognize as critical for learning how to read, speak, and spell. The software automatically adjusts to the appropriate skill level of the user based on the correctness of their responses. Aerobics uses adaptive training and acoustically modified speech and carefully controlled important learning variables. It used the automated data collection tools to monitor students' progress, print reports, and guide remediation. So for each activity, the program automatically generates IEP formatted goals also, which is a good thing. Aerobics helps students struggling with speech and language while allowing teachers to effectively use collected data to monitor student progress. In a study by Anthony in 2016, the author used aerobics in 9 school districts in Texas for 3 years. All schools were Title I schools. 37 classrooms participated. The average class size was 21 full-day students per class. The results of this study showed that aerobics moderately accelerated development of phonological awareness among kindergartners who started the school year with relatively poor emergent literacy consistent with prior research. PA training with aerobics step 1 also had a large impact on graphophonemic knowledge and a small impact on reading achievement. So again, as far as my independent variables, I will be using aerobics, which is a combination of speech perception activities and phonemic awareness activities that are visual and auditory. And my dependent variable is post-test speech sound perception of 10 words of determining the effectiveness of the intervention on the I phoneme, the A phoneme, and the phoneme. So after each session, for my data collection, I will take data individually for each child, and the screener, I will be using the same screener that I used for my baseline. So the screener is used to assess if participants can perceive and discriminate speech sounds. And this is done to assess the progress of each participant. So in terms of threats to internal validity, two of the most possible threats that I may experience while conducting my study are threats to adaptation in history. My participants will consist of kindergarten-aged children. So typically, young children tend to behave differently when put in new environments with unfamiliar people, which may affect their baseline scores or other aspects of the study. So to address this threat of adaptation, I will expose the participants to the setting, the format of the sessions, and my data procedures beforehand to make them comfortable. History can be a threat to the internal validity of a study, as it can influence an outcome or the data collected from a participant. During the experiment, parents or really anyone that is in contact with the participant can affect their performance in a positive way or a negative way. For example, a parent may tutor their child in the subject material that I am targeting in these sessions, and this will threaten the validity of the data being collected, as the child may perform better than they might have if they did not get this extra tutoring at home outside of these sessions. I will control for this by now not allowing extra tutoring or having the parent agree to it in written form. Human subjects protection. Respect for persons refers to the ethical obligation to uphold autonomy, which is the right of independent individuals to make decisions about their own lives. Informed consent is largely derived from the principle of autonomy. Respecting autonomy requires, for example, that a researcher honors the decision of a potential subject who refuses to participate in a research study. It also involves allowing subjects to leave the research at any point if they decide to do so, which I will take care of in this study. Beneficence requires a researcher to do no harm and maximize possible benefits and minimizes possible harms. So to address this, I will weigh the risk of a study against the potential benefits. I have designed the study to minimize the subject's exposure to any kind of risk to the greatest extent possible by choosing tools that are research-based. Informed consent will be received from all the parents of the participants. Participants must be adequately informed about the research study in which they are being asked to enroll in. The parents will be notified, and the potential benefits and risks that may be associated with the participation of the study. So they will be notified about everything, and I will receive consent from the parents. The limitations for this study would be the small population, that it might not represent the majority of the students of the this intermediate level. So it is a small amount of participants, and it might not generalize to the larger population. And lack of prior research studies. Throughout my research, citing prior research studies to form the basis of my literature review, I found little research done on interventions focusing on non-native vowel sounds for L's. So there was limited research done on this. So I found that a little difficult completing my lit review. So that would be a limitation for the study. And these are my references. Thank you very much.